Hello and welcome. We're back to complete the read that we have been doing. Sorry, I've not been available for some time now. I've been quite busy, but still have some time to make it up and finish up with RIP. We have done this up until now. We have done this as well. So now we'll just look at these two today, and that will be that for RIP. There are still other features of RIP, features like offset lists. You might want to read up on that. That's simply a way to make a route more preferable on RIP than another route. There is still filtering. You can filter routes on RIP using prefix lists. And we can also do that using access lists. So we can do all of this. We can still do a unicast neighbor by using the RIP neighbor statement. When you don't want RIP to use the broadcast, we can use the RIP unicast neighbor feature. So there are still a lot of things that we are just skipping, because basically the RIP is not really the protocol that you want to spend a whole lot of time on, seeing that in the real world it's really not deployed anywhere. Nobody uses it. You basically will see it in very little devices with very little memory. So authentication simply means somebody, if router 1 says he's router 1, he's got to prove that actually he's router 1. So if I have router 1 connected to router 2, for router 2 to accept his RIP update, he has to authenticate with either a clear text password, as in the case of RIP, or a hashed MD5 password. And for this way to also come back, he can also use a clear text password or a hashed MD5 password. These are the two main authentication types that RIP will accept. Any other thing from this, RIP will not accept it. Okay. Then we'll talk about summarization. I think we'll do summarization before we'll do authentication. So for summarization, if we had another scenario, I think I'll need to, let me use another color here first. Let me wipe this. Okay. So if I had router 1 here for summarization, connected to router 2 here, and router 1 has a bunch of networks, 10.1.0.0/24, 10.1.1.0/24, 10.1.2.0/24, and 10.1.3.0/24. Router 1 can actually advertise these routes, all of these routes, once you use the RIP network statement 10 network 10.0.0.0. We'll see this basically in the lab. He will advertise all of these routes to router 2, and then on router 2's routing table, we are going to be seeing stuff like 10.1.0.0/24 via router 1. Hold on, I have a knock on my door. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So also on the routing table for router 2, we'll have 1.1/24 via the interface that is going to router 1. We have 10.1.2.0/24. The same thing. That's on the routing table. And if router 2 was connected to another router 3, we will advertise same route, and this router 3 will have a replica of all these routes. Router 3 connects to router 4, and router 4 will have what? All of these same routes. But with summarization, we can basically just reduce all these routes into one route advertisement. For example, this route, looking at it, we can easily reduce it to 10.1.0.0/16. That will be fine, but it will not be efficient because we are going to be capturing a whole lot of subnets with this summarized route. So a better summarized route will be 10.1.0.0/22. And how did I get that? Looking at this route, we can see already that we have the first octets. The first two octets here are constant, so we already have that 10.x.x/16 can summarize all of this route, but we have said that it is not what efficient. So let us find what is also constant in these octets and summarize. So for this we have 0 for all the. So for the third octet, we need to find the things that are what? The bits that are constant, and add those bits to the what? To the subnet mask. As we can see from this, we can see that the first 6 bits here are constant. So we are going to have this 10.1.0.0/16 plus these 6 bits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this will give us that the summary address will be 10.0.0/22, and this will account for all the routes in this zone, because this advert actually covers the routes from 10.1.3.255. That's that subnet, and it will cover all of those networks. And with that, once that is done, now we can have router 1. Instead of giving router 2 a bunch of routes, it gives router 2 10.1.0.0/22, only one route for all those specific routes. And router 2 will still give to router 3 10.1.0.0/22. So we have actually reduced our routing table, even though our board looks reduced. So that is what summarization will do. Then authentication we have talked about, and after this we've also talked about auto summarization. So let's quickly hit the labs here. This is the topology I'll be working with. Basically, I've seen this topology before. So for our 1, and I'm using loopbacks to simulate all of those networks. So we can see all the subnets, basically the same subnets that we were using in the board. You can see all of them. So the name of one is running root. Not running RIP. We are running version 2 of RIP. Version 1 is obsolete now. We don't want to do auto summarization. We want to run it for these networks and for also these networks. Okay. Router 2 should now be getting all of those updates right about now. I hope it's running RIP. Show IP. Yeah, voila, it's running RIP. So looking at this routing table, we can already see now we have not summarized. Now we are still having this /24 routes, many of them on all the routers here. Let's go all the way to router 6 down here. Look at the routing table from its own point of view, and you see each router is passing the same exact thing to each and every router. So what can we do? We can summarize. For RIP, summarization is arbitrary. You can summarize at any point in the network. Actually, you can summarize on this interface for R1. You can summarize here. You can summarize here. At any point, you can summarize. You really can summarize there because he's receiving the routes. He's receiving the routes from R3. R3 can summarize in all of these interfaces, and this guy can summarize when he's sending to this one. So that is that for summarization. For other routing protocols like OSPF, summarization will can only be done at a router known as the ABR or the ASBR, but for distance vector routing protocols like EIGRP or RIP, summarization is actually at any arbitrary point in the network, and summarization in this point and in these protocols is done under the interface. So summarization is done under the interface in these routing protocols. So without much further ado, let us quickly do the summarization. On router 1, do this. Sorry about the noise, some things are happening around here. So the IP, I know that address root, give it the, also give the network mask for that subnet. And that is that we have effectively summarized our network. So once you go to R2 now, we are going to see this advert right here that is effectively telling you that what summarization has happened. And now all this will just wait for the 240-second RIP this card to happen for it to be ejected out of the routing table. So when we even go to the last router here, router 7, and look at the table from his own point of view. You can see also that he's getting that summary address, but also he's still having this because he has not gotten to the route timer that would discard that route, because RIP waits if after 30 seconds an update is not received. RIP will wait for 180 seconds to confirm that that route is dead, and then at about 240 seconds RIP will discard that route from the routing table. So while that is happening, while we wait for the discard to happen, let's quickly do let's start with clear text authentication. So authentication is also on the interface. Yes, let me be sure of which interface I'm in here. Yeah, that is IP RIP authentication. The default mode is clear text, so I will say what mode is best, and I will say IP RIP authentication. Key chain. We can now use check something. So yeah, we use the authentication mode here as text, but before we even do that, we have to have created a keychain. So keychain, and in the keychain Cisco, and I'll say the key number is key 1, and I'll say the key string is I'll use Cisco again, and that will be that. And then also interface with points. And also IP authentication, keychain is Cisco. And now R1, we struggle to accept RIP updates. We not accept RIP from R2, and R2 likewise will not accept RIP updates from R1. So let's check R2 again. RIP is still wasting time. By the way, we can have a look and see that our routes is now up and in the routing table, and all those specific routes have now been cleared from the routing table. So to make this consistent, or let's allow this to time out while we go here between router 6 and router 7, and let's configure the MD5 RIP authentication mode. So we do reference eternal 0, and we say IP RIP authentication mode is MD5. But before we do that, as you can see, once you say IP root authentication, it will require for what? A key chain. That means we must first of all create a key chain for RIP. So I can say key chain, and I'll call that key chain Cisco, and I'll say the key number is key number 1, and I'll create a key string that I'll call what? Cisco, and that is that. So I can easily come to interface it on a 0/0, enter, and then I can say IP RIP authentication key chain. I will say that key is Cisco. Repeat the same thing on this side. Let's create the key chain this time first. Key chain, name it Cisco, basically Russian. Now, don't you struggle to type when somebody is looking over your shoulder. Key 1, I will create a key string, and basically the key number and the key string has to match for the authentication to be successful. So key 1, create a key string, name it the same Cisco, and then we can go to the interface. Oh, did I do it on 0/0? This should have been done on 0/1. For R6, interface 0/1, IP authentication mode, MD5, IP authentication keychain Cisco. All right. Why am I doing that? The interface is 0/1 for router 6 and router 7. Okay, so we'll say IP RIP authentication mode. Now we are doing a hashed password. We are using MD5. We are going to say IP RIP authentication keychain. We are using the keychain that is named what? Cisco. So what it's simply saying is, hey RIP, I'm using a keychain for authentication, so router search for a keychain named Cisco. In that keychain there are keys. We have key 1, I have a key 1. Basically we'll talk more about keychains when we are doing EIGRP authentication, because it still uses the same thing, and then we'll talk about the way keychains work. It has keys, send lifetime, receive lifetime, accept lifetime. We talk about how all those work, but what it's simply saying is I have a keychain. Use this keychain to authenticate any neighbor that is sending any updates to me. So there is that for have I actually authenticated this? So there is that for authentication. So right about now we have taken care of this, and this. So that is done. Hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for for view.